second stage of this occurred, which at the time they began to try to handcuff him, and he starts to struggle and fight. Eventually, getting one of the tasers, I believe it was the officer who did not fire, whose taser was taken, and he's able to take off running. Even though at some point he turns and actually looks like he fires the taser. Tasers aren't like a semi-automatic where you can just fire over and over and over again. It's got to reset and all that, which most people wouldn't even realize that if they're not accustomed to using them. So he didn't pose any threat in terms of serious injury or death to the officer at the time he fired the shot.
And they also had information on him. They knew who he was. Yeah. They knew where he lived. And they had his car
license.
So
you got a car.
Theoretically, you could have gone and gotten him whenever you wanted.
Exactly.
One more question for you, Commissioner, and then back to you, Joey. I've been making something of, and please, I've always trusted you to keep me straight on things. Tell me if I'm looking at something too deeply. When I watch this altercation, I see two officers, Commissioner, who do not know how to deal with somebody on the ground. And to me, it's got to speak to not having the training, Commissioner, that, I've studied this stuff for a long time as a journalist and as a fighter. They do not know how to control him. Yes, he's a good-sized guy. I don't see any evidence of super drug strength that anecdotally we talk about sometimes. If anything, he was kind of sleeping in the car. They didn't know how to deal with him. They had to go to the taser. Do you see something in here that speaks to inadequate training?
Well, I mean, it could very well be. I don't know what training they provide in that department for officers. There are courses in ground fighting, which is exactly what it's called, which help officers learn how to actually overpower an individual when you're in that situation. Now, it's a two against one situation. Yep. The one officer had his hand, which really puts him at a disadvantage because now he's only got one hand to actually use to try to bring the person under control. He was probably using the drive stun of the taser, which is a pain compliance technique. So it's very possible that that could have been an issue there, or this guy just stronger and just overpowered him.
Joey, last word to you.
I think what we have to look at is what the chief said, which is a very significant point, and that's initially, before even the running, you had patted the person down. You made the determination at that point that they didn't have a weapon. And so now you're shooting him based upon the taser that he has looking backward toward you, but he's proceeding to run. You have his license, you have the car, you live to fight another day, you preserve his life, you don't take the shot, and thereby you avoid criminal charges. More importantly, you preserve a life. And at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to do. Tamp down the situations, allow a person to live, and not overly be aggressive such that you take someone's life who's a brother, a cousin, an uncle, a member of the community. And that's the big tragedy here, whether there are charges leveled or not.
Commissioner, do you believe there's going to be charges here?
Well, against the one officer that fired the shot, there's a strong possibility that he'll be charged. I doubt if I didn't see anything for the second officer that would indicate anything criminal. In fact, quite frankly, even reviewing it administratively for suspension, I don't see anything that officer did that would necessitate that.
Joey Jackson, Charles Ramsey, thank you, gentlemen, both. Be well. God bless. All right, we're watching history unfold with remarkable speed when it comes to what we're seeing in this country right now. Policing, race, the pandemic. But there's another huge moment in America that came as a surprise today from the Supreme Court. Why some conservative justices agreed with their liberal colleagues. What does it mean? Next.
Life isn't a straight line, and sometimes you can find yourself.
It was wild, ain't it? Man, we hearing so much about racial stuff. And the matter of fact, I'm gonna play this one too. And this is gonna be the next story that gonna be talking about. This is supposed to be good news right here.
Grace and peace, family. Vicky Dillard here. You're tuned in to the VickieDillard.tv channel, VickieDillard.tv. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. As I build my own personal YouTube channel, I'm sure some of you know that I have the being a contributor on YourBlackWorldTV.com, FlyNubianQueenTV.com, African Diaspora News Channel, and my show is syndicated and aired on several other platforms where we're reaching over 1 million people a week, and it is a privilege and an honor. But I thank you for tuning in to my platform as I build my own show. The content I do here is a little bit different, and I'll also be doing some more like blogging and maybe personal things in the future. But that is to come. I wanted to briefly share with you what they're calling landmark legislation. This is from the Washington Post, and many folks have heard about this already. But the Supreme Court ruled today that a landmark federal civil rights law from the 1960s protects gay and transgender workers, a watershed ruling for the LGBTQ rights written by one of the court's most conservative justices. Listen to this, family. Justice Neil M. Gorsuch and Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. joined the court's liberals in the 6-3 ruling. They said, listen, family, pay attention to the finesse. They said, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination, quote, because of sex, includes gay and transgender employees. It says the decision was a surprise and not the only one of the day. Even though the court's conservative majority had been strengthened, it announced Monday that it was turning down a batch of challenges from gun rights groups, and it talks about some other things, but I want to focus on this LGBT stuff. I want you to pay attention to the fact that they are hijacking, they are stealing some of the benefits from the 1964 Civil Rights Act for gay and transgender employees. And let me tell you something, black family. Do you think that our black brothers and sisters who were set on fire, who were hung from trees, who were dismembered, whose towns and cities were destroyed and set on fire and bombed, whose little girls were bombed in church? Do you think for 1 second that our ancestors and our elders, those that are still alive today, went through that? They had in mind some other people groups like this? Let me tell you something. If you are a part of the LGBT community, that's fine. Fight for your own rights. But how dare they hijack the highest courts of the land, hijack something that was...
But you know what? There's a reason why it was hijacked the way it was. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, Amira? Good seeing you up in here, sister. There's a reason why it's set up like that the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and that's why there's this book called When Affirmative Action Was White, I think it's called, by Ira Kazelson or something like that. That's why his book is like recommended reading. Even though I personally believe that affirmative action has always been Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? It started with white men. Then when it got to the 1960s, it moved over to Caucasian women. And now LGBT and immigrants are benefiting off of not just affirmative action, but now the 1964 Civil Rights Act. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and the LGBT and the immigrants are the main constituencies the Democratic Party is striving to impress. It's striving to bring in as their core constituencies. It's not about us black Americans anymore. We have been completely pushed to the side. Not only have we been pushed out of wealth, but we're basically pushed out of the political spectrum in which we're expected to continue to vote Democrat. Now, if black people continue, if the majority of black Americans continue to vote Democrat, they're going to keep on, the Democratic Party is going to keep on doing what it's doing. You know what I'm saying? Until less than 50% of us black Americans vote Democrat. It's going to be interesting how this presidential election is going to turn out. Because I feel like this, even if less than 70% of black Americans vote Democrat, that's a monumental achievement in and of itself, because we haven't had black Americans vote less than 70% Democrat since LBJ. Yeah. So it's been a long time. And, you know, there's a saying that things must change. And like I said, things are changing. Things are starting to change, and the people who's supposed to be dominating everything, they're not dominating things the way they used to. They're not able to dominate everything the way that they used to. So, which is why they try to rein in and pull in other marginalized groups, such as the LGBTQ community and immigrants. You know. But I'll play the rest of this video. What she's saying is very true, though.
For us, it's the same thing they did with affirmative action. How many of you guys know that affirmative action was supposed to benefit mostly black folk, but we know that white women and other minority groups disproportionately benefit from affirmative action? America is doing what she's always done. What's that? Stealing. She stole our labor and had paid for it, and now she's making mischief with the laws, stealing from us to keep us in a weakened state. During this holy uprising over the last few weeks, where American cities have been set on fire, folk protesting here in America, and we have done again what we've always done, sparked an international movement because of the Breonna Taylors, the Ahmaud Arbery's, and the George Floyds, not to mention the other nameless George Floyds, the other nameless Breonna Taylors. So they're trying to hijack and take this moment to steal only America, only American government, America's systems would use opportunities of black death to profit. God, today.
Woo. Hello.
This is unacceptable. And this is the reason why we make the demands to Joe Biden and others that it is reparations for black folk or nothing at all. How many of you all heard about Joe Biden coming out the other day after he did his NAACP interview, talking about when he was asked about reparations? He wouldn't even say the word reparations, but he was forced to discuss reparations. And he said, okay, he will consider the concept in terms of the study. But even he would only do that study and concept, the concept of reparations for the study, if we include Native Americans. Well, in the first place, if you do your research, you'll find that a lot of the Aboriginal people, although they consider to be native, they were actually black-skinned natives here on this side of the waters. That's number one. But number two, we also understand that there's a such things as $5 Indians. That's not a derogatory term, that's an actual historical term. Dr. Paul Anderson told us about that. These are things where white-skinned folk or light-skinned folks trying to take benefits that actually belong to us. And Dr. Paul Anderson, one of our living legends still today, has court litigation that's still going in terms of rights and reparations and treaties that belong to black folks, benefits that we're supposed to be getting. But you find when you do your history that a lot of the so-called natives that you're referring to, like the red natives, are actually some of the ones that helped to work with our white slave masters to turn us back over and to further enslave us. I'm talking about facts and history. Let's tell the truth. But how dare Joe Biden? Why are they doing that? Because they want to keep black folk in a weakened state. They never want us to become the head. But let me tell you what's written. It's written that we're going to be the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. There is not only black family. A changing of the guards. There's a changing of the gods. And when I say gods, I mean those with force and power. And there's a war of the gods. America has constantly engaged in war against us, but she does not understand that there is a God that backs us. And what she does to us is doing nothing but forcing us to unify, which means that our collective intelligence, our collective power is going to cause us to be victorious, because there's an army you can see we're backed by, and an something that you can't see. Somebody talk black to me. I'm about doing things with justice and righteousness. I'm not somebody that believes that we should be the oppressor or that we start anything. But let me tell you something, America. We are the people that's prophesied about in the book of Genesis to Abraham, where God says, knowing for sure that your people is going to be in a land that's not their own and be oppressed for over 400 years. There's only one people that fits that description. We are the prophetic children of Israel. The Bible speaks in plural. It's talking about us. And America is not. And America is that mystery Babylon. Egypt is the United States of America. Pharaoh is of the world rulers here in the United States. And our exodus is coming, and our promised land is just on the other side. My name is Vicky Dillon. Don't forget to follow me. Check out my website at MissVickyTV.com. So many of you ask about my Cash App and so forth. My Cash App is there as well. It's the $OPWVICKI. OPWVICKI. My Instagram is Vicky X Dillard. My Twitter is Dillard.
I agree. Yeah, good to see you in here, Black Bubbles. Yeah, but we are definitely the Black Indians. Absolutely. I follow I watch Dane Calloway's videos too, and his analysis makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? So this is technically our land to begin with. You know what I mean? We didn't come on no. Yeah. All right. That's right. We didn't. Most of us didn't even come on those slave ships. Probably, I'll say a very small percentage of black people who are here in America today, very small percentage, came here by slave ships. You know what I'm saying? Now, many years ago, before the supposed transatlantic slave trade, you know what I'm saying? Our people traveled by boat all around the world to visit different lands and to settle at that land. You know what I mean? So that's how there was always melanated people in America, in this land called America, for so many years. So I see where you're going, brother. You're right. Yep, that's right. Yep, and indeed, the Black Indians, some of them had slaves too. Absolutely. Yep. That's it's kind of funny. The same thing that was happening here many years ago happened in Africa during around the supposed transatlantic slave trade. So it's interesting how that is, And according to Dan Calloway, the Black Indians that had slaves, they had them traveled all the way to Europe, and also they shipped some into Africa. You know what I'm saying? Where they mixed in with the African people. You know what I mean? So technically what he was saying that it happened in reverse. You know what I'm saying? Just like what you're seeing today. The Supreme Court ruling on allowing LGBT people to be included in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that's the complete reverse of what it was intentionally for. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was supposed to be originally for us Black Americans, aka Black Indians. You know what I'm saying? Aka indigenous folk of America, It's interesting how things reverse themselves. But see, by the Supreme Court ruling the way they ruled, you're basically they basically co-signing with the Democratic Party, in which the Democratic Party caters more to LGBTQ and immigrant people before they cater to us black Americans who have been waiting on reparations for over 400 years. Actually, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, for over 400 years. It's just that now we're demanding it. We're not asking for it, we're demanding it. So that's what makes the difference. You know, and the more that we keep demanding it, the only thing they could really do is try to distract us from talking about it. So that's why they unleashing all these events that are going on now, such as, you know, let's say the beginning of this year, Kobe Bryant passed away. Then fast forward all the way till we heard Ahmaud Arbery being shot and murdered by some redneck crackers. Then, a little time after that, about 3 weeks ago, it was George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? And now we got a couple of more brothers who been getting killed. Rayshard Brooks. Oh, the title of the video is Rayshard. You know what I mean? In the very beginning, I played the present CNN clip of Cuomo and the two men. One of them, I think, is Jackson, and another guy who was a former commissioner of the police or something like that. They were discussing about the technique, whether or not the police officer was using the right technique against Rayshard Brooks. And then you got another brother who was recently hung, supposedly from a tree. And I think his name is Robert Fuller of Palmdale, California. So we got all this going on to distract us from talking about reparations. I mean, these candidates, you know, it's bad enough the candidates have been dodging the issue of reparations. Oh, they've been dodging it. They've been dodging it, all right. But it wasn't working because we still kept on bringing the issue of reparations back up. Because we realized that we're going to be a worthless people completely by the year 2053. That's 30 plus years from now. So that's the interesting thing to keep in mind. So yeah, let me see what this Coon brother is talking.
Now you know how it feels, don't you? What goes around comes around. Got some breaking news. On the Rayshard Brooks shooting, the Atlanta police releasing disciplinary records for the two officers involved. We're going to have that information for you, and I'm going to speak with the attorney representing the Brooks family. That's next. What if you could go into
Well.
back before the fishing
The discipline history. Oh, this is going to be really interesting. An interesting segment indeed.
In this world where people are staying at home, many of life's moments are being put on hold. At Carvana, we understand that for some, getting a car just can't wait. That's why the new way to buy and sell a car is also the
Yeah.
At Carvana, you can do it all 100% online from home.
Okay.
With a
Yeah, I'm
touchless
definitely going to have to
over-sticker
look at it.
process to
Yeah.
keep you safe. And for even
Or that
all Carvana cars come with a 7-day return policy.
Yep.
So if you need to keep moving,
Well, that makes sense right there. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that. The Creole Buffalo Soldiers. Okay. Yep. Oh, of course the French and the Spanish were here. Yeah. Yeah, I think they I know the French state used to occupy what is today Louisiana, and I think the United States paid millions of dollars to buy that land, which is presently Louisiana and several other states going up north, known as the Louisiana Purchase. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that was part of this country's so-called manifest destiny. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, that makes sense because the Midwest states, yeah, they didn't really become states until like almost the mid 1800s anyway. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, almost around the mid 1800s. Yup. And it's kind of interesting how that Dred Scott decision, in which what was it, Missouri? I don't know whether it was a half free, half slave state or what, or it was just a slave state. But yeah, they said that Dred Scott couldn't purchase his freedom. That ruling was saying that Dred Scott is not a free man. He's not a human being, basically. He's still the property of his slave master. Yup. Right, the Missouri Compromise. Okay, yup. Yeah. So yeah, that's plenty. There's a lot of history with this country in the 1800s. I think a lot of people don't know. The average person doesn't even know. So yeah. But I can tell you for sure that most of us who were born here in America, if we could trace our families at least 2 generations back, that 9 times out of 10, we're the original people that have been in this country for hundreds and thousands of years. Gangs in New York, okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's obvious. So no, we're not African. We haven't been African in hundreds and thousands of years. We're indigenous to this land called America. So, yeah, so there's gonna be some more about this Rayshard Brooks case, and the people that was interviewed on CNN earlier in the video that I played. Oh, hold on, he's back.
In the back by an officer at a Wendy's drive-thru. Atlanta police just released the disciplinary records for the 2 officers involved. Ryan Young joins us now from Atlanta. Ryan, thank you so much for this. We're just getting this new report of his disciplinary record now. The details are coming out on this. Give us the latest. Yeah, absolutely, Don. You can hear the honking behind me. One of the reasons why is, honestly, I want to show you this before we get to those records, is take a look down this direction. This has become a living visual for Rayshard Brooks. They're having a candlelight visual as we speak. We've seen hundreds of cars drive by here, honking their horns, people stopping to pay their respects. But when you talk about those disciplinary reports, let's talk about it. What we do know is Officer Bronson was, at one point, had 2 firearm discharges on his record. Officer Wolf's name had 2 citizen complaints and a use of force complaint. Then he got a written reprimand. So this is the beginning of what we're starting to learn about these 2 officers. I can tell you, Don, as they did this was sort of the beginning history, so you can't read details into the incident or what people complained complained about. That's something that we should get later on. But this is what the police department has put out in the first few hours, of course, to kind of show what these officers faced in terms of complaints over the last few years.
And it's so early on in this investigation, as we know, there are other things that could possibly come out, and details do roll out later on. Tell us about this new 911 audio that was released today, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. When you think about it, everyone's trying to figure out what happened at this Wendy's. Why were police called? What happened before they arrived? And of course, we've all watched the body cam video and saw there was that 30-minute conversation. A lot of people upset about the fact that after that 30-minute conversation, they don't believe it should have escalated as far as it did. But let's listen to the 911 call that came from inside the Wendy's after someone, maybe in management, tried to go outside and talk to Mr. Brooks. Let's take a listen.
Alright, you need police, fire, ambulance out here. The police. Okay, tell me what's going on. I have a car. I think he's intoxicated. He's in the middle of my drive-thru. I tried to whip him up, but he's parked right in the middle of the drive-thru, so I don't know what's wrong with him. Is he breathing now, so you know? Yeah, I woke up, looked at me, and I was like, you gotta move out the drive-thru because people can't, they're going around and he's in the middle of the, just right there. Tell me what kind of car he's gonna try to go around him. What's the car? He's gonna pull over. You know, I had too much to drink to pull over and go to sleep. So anyway, we're just ready. We're right back up and walked in. What kind of car is it? It's a white car. He said, think that you can't even see what was black. Is he black? Why is he saying, yeah? He black? Okay, in a white sedan in the middle of the drive-thru. Yeah, let me look at the car. He's right here. Yeah, he's right here. The car's going around him. Okay. Alright, does he appear to have any weapons, ma'am? Ma'am, does he appear to have any weapons from where you can see it? No, I think he's intoxicated.
John, we've having these conversations far too often. I can tell you one of the things that people talked about all day, including the mayor, was de-escalation. Maybe someone, when they arrived, could have maybe tried to talk him out of what ended up happening in terms of that struggle. That's a big part of this conversation. You've lived in Atlanta before, and to give you an idea of this area, look, this is the only really fast food joint in this area for miles. Turner Field is just down the street here, and so a lot of people line up to go to this Wendy's, and of course, he was in a position, and you could even hear her talk about maybe suggesting that he could pull off to take a nap. And you saw that video when the officer arrived. It was hard to wake Mr. Brooks up, but there's still so many questions about where we are right now, and could something have been done to prevent this moment, especially with all the pain that we're feeling in the city.
Brian Young, appreciate your reporting. Thank you, sir. Now I want to get to Chris Stewart. He is the attorney representing Rayshard Brooks' family. Mr. Stewart, thank you. So good to see you. I wish it was under better circumstances. You know, you held a press conference with the family today. Here's Rayshard's widow, Tamika Miller. Listen to this.
There's no justice that can ever make me feel happy about what's been done. I can never get my husband back. I can never get my best friend. I can never tell my daughter, oh, he's coming to take his skate or swimming lessons. So, it's just going to be a long time before I heal. It's going to be a long time before this family heals.
Another black family grieving the loss of a loved one at the hands of a white officer. How's the family doing?
Not well. You know, they're trying to figure out what life is going to be like now. We now have a mother who has to raise 4 beautiful little children alone, of course with the support of the extended family, but it's world-shattering. And that's what everyone needed to see today. Not just lawyers talking and everybody debating back and forth about was it right, was it wrong. They needed to see the impact of these decisions to take a life.
So I wanted to ask you about the family first and then get into this new information about the disciplinary history of the 2 officers in Rayshard Brooks' shooting. You saw that Garrett Rolfe's record shows a use of force complaint from September of 2016 that resulted in a written reprimand the following year. There's also included several citizens' complaints, all with notes that no action taken, and then Officer Devin Brosnan has 2 firearm discharges on his record, both entered on the record this month. Atlanta Police Department spokesman tells CNN that one of the cases is from March 20th, an incident on that date, and the other is from Friday night's shooting.
not shocked. I mean, Don, you know, how many times have you and I talked about this? It's like we're living in that movie Groundhog's Day. It's the same thing over and over again. I could have told people that I guarantee you this officer has had some issues in the past. It's normally that situation. You know who causes issues or who has had prior issues or who has had complaints. A lot of them don't get justified and then they stay on the force. So, you know, it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah. And thinking about Minneapolis, this isn't as long a list, but it is complaints nonetheless. As long a list as the officer involved in Minneapolis, I mean. But Chris, I want to ask you about this initial call to police was about Rayshard Brooks sleeping in his car. And despite that, there may be people who watched part of the video, see a man pointing a taser at an officer, tussling with officers, and then a man pointing a taser. So explain why deadly force was not necessary in this case, please, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, you know, separate the two situations. Now, during the tussle where they were, you know, fighting on the ground, if they would have used deadly force at that time period, if one of them had said, hey, he has my gun, which is normally what we hear screaming, he's got my gun, he's going for my gun, he's going for my gun. And they would have shot him right during the fight while he's on top of them and said he was reaching for the gun, that could have been easily justified. Because now it's their word against his, saying that he reached for the gun. But they let him disengage, get away with the taser. They know it's not a deadly weapon per their training. They know how it operates, so they know it's not a multiple use weapon. They know the distance that he's from them, that it's not going to directly connect. It didn't even stop him when they used it upon Post. So it was ridiculous, and to say that officer's life was in danger at that moment and that's why he shot, well, look seconds before. He was already reaching for his lethal weapon before Mr. Brooks turned around and pointed that taser.
And then, of course, go running away, shot him in the back twice, deemed a homicide.
Yes.
Thank you. Chris, let the facts speak, as you said. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon. And again, our thoughts are with the family. Thanks so much.
All right, take care now.
18 states are seeing a spike in coronavirus cases. What are the reasons behind it? What role do the massive protests play? And what could be the impact of the president's big rally next week? That's next.
United States Postal Service.
Well, you know where that going. More propaganda. Well. Well. Let me check, see what else is going on out here. What out here in YouTube land. Oh, yes. There was a oh, shoot. Yeah. Keisha Bottoms, she spoke.
Should use only the amount of objectively reasonable force necessary to successfully protect themselves or others, to effect an arrest, or to bring an incident under control when dealing with members of the community, suspects, detainees, etc. I'm also requiring de-escalation generally and specifically prior to the use of deadly force, in accordance with the principle that officers should use de-escalation techniques to gain voluntary compliance and avoid or minimize the use of physical force, and to continuously develop, update, and train officers in de-escalation techniques. Also requiring the reporting of all uses of deadly force by a police officer to our Citizens Review Board. Adopting and implementing a duty to intervene, whereby if a police officer sees another officer using force that which is beyond reasonable under the circumstances, that they are duty-bound to intercede and prevent that use of force and must immediately report the use of such force to an on-duty supervisor, and also provide lawful restrictions on when an officer may use deadly force toward a suspect who is in a moving vehicle. We understand in Atlanta and across the nation that this is the beginning of a great deal of work that lies ahead of us to make sure that we are doing all that we can do to protect our communities and to follow the principles that were set forth by the Obama-Biden administration on 21st century policing. It's very clear that our police officers are to be guardians and not warriors within our communities. We stand on the strong legacy of civil rights in this city and in this country. And it's for that reason I am also signing an additional executive order that will hopefully allow us, as we continue to grieve and show our frustration and anger as a nation, that will create the framework that will allow us to move to action. And in an effort for us to develop a succinct appeal for human rights, I am signing an administrative order that will convene a body to begin to succinctly articulate our grievances and what we see as our solutions. We hope that this will be a framework in Atlanta and possibly the nation. The actions that I am taking today are a continuation of the criminal justice reform efforts that I began at the beginning of my administration as mayor, which have included the elimination of cash bail bonds in our city. Meaning if you get stopped for a traffic ticket and you don't have $200 to pay, you don't stay in jail simply because you are poor. It's also meant that we have asked our city council to reallocate a significant portion of our corrections budget towards community-based programming. Because after we closed our detention center to ICE, it gave us an opportunity, along with the elimination of cash bail bonds, to begin to reimagine and to begin the work to transform our city jail into a center of equity, health, and wellness. And I believe that it is more important than ever that we continue that work in earnest. As we continue to work with our advisory council on the use of force, we expect our first recommendations by June 24th, with final recommendations by July 24th. And it is my assurance to you that we will continue to do the work that we need to do to make sure that all of our communities, each and every person in our community, is treated with dignity and respect. We saw the worst happen on Friday night with Mr. Brooks. It angered me and it saddened me beyond words. But I know that it is my responsibility as mayor of this great city for us to continue to work to put that anger and that sadness into action. And so this is the first of a series of actions and steps that we will take. And I look forward to continuing to work with all of our community stakeholders so that we can begin to heal as a nation and as a city. But as someone who has experienced the sudden death of a loved one, I know that there are no words and no actions that will ever bring them back and will ever fill that void. But I do hope that the public and all of our community partners know that there is a deep and abiding commitment on behalf of this administration to make sure that we're doing all that we can do so that another child does not miss the opportunity to have her father present on her birthday. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have, and I'll also turn it over to Chief Bryant and to Captain Price. So let me just say, based on what we saw happen on Friday, it became abundantly clear very quickly that there is a need for us to take an immediate look at our training policies. So some of these policies, in my opinion, while we are speaking these policies, they are not necessarily integrated into our training. I'm going to let Chief Bryant speak in more detail on the difference on what our current standard operating procedures are and what the difference will be given this administrative order.
Good afternoon. Based on the policies that are being set by the administration and the police department, the alignment are very close, but the executive policies are actually a little bit more detailed, and there are a few more requirements as opposed to the standards that we have currently. Right now, there's no defined indication that one has to intervene and enact, and that executive policy does spell that out directly. You're now seeing that throughout many police departments are going to that model based on what we saw happen in the Floyd case, where officers have to now intervene with other officers when they see something that may not be appropriate. Well, and as well as for us to, being that this is an executive policy, for those policies to change, generally what you have is a policy that is created through the police department, and we have the authority to change it as we deem fit. But an executive policy requires us to go through the mayor's office and have that level of conversation before we can change that policy.
And I'll just add something to that. Part of the debate in looking at the shooting from Friday night was that training, is that how our officers are trained? If someone has your taser, do our policies then allow you to respond with a weapon? And so again, as we are taking a look at our use of force policies through our advisory committee, it is abundantly clear that through my executive powers, we need to reiterate our desire that there be de-escalation and that there not be an immediate use of force when there are other options that are available. And to the extent that we need to codify that, and to the extent that we need to formally change our standard operating procedures, this executive order, this administrative order is a first step. Well, the City Council will not need to be involved, from my understanding, with our operating procedures as it relates to our police department, but as it relates to anything that needs to be codified, certainly that will have to go through the legislative process and approval. Just like with the officers who were previously charged, that's a decision from the district attorney's office. What's before me is working to implement policy and to change our operating procedures in the city of Atlanta. That decision was an independent decision made by a separately elected district attorney, and I'm sure in the same way this decision will be made, but I have said this privately to the district attorney, and I will say this publicly. We have other use of force cases sitting on the district attorney's desk, including at least two with men who were shot in the city of Atlanta, and we have not gotten a response or a path forward on those cases. So if it is his will to take a look at this case and go forward with criminal charges, it's just my request that he look at all of our use of force cases that are still pending in the district attorney's office so that we can offer some finality for those families as well. The morale is bad right now. My understanding is that it's really bad, and understandably so. It's bad across the country because of what's happening across the country and the scrutiny and focus and a lot of the anger and frustration that's directed at our police department. And I don't think Atlanta is any different, and I think you layer on, I spent Saturday afternoon looking at body cam footage. This is the third time in 2 weeks that I've spent the better part of a day looking at body cam footage related to excessive use of force. So it is bad. But what I will say to our officers is that there is a shift of expectations across this country, and that shift will be no different than here in Atlanta. And I think in the long run it will be better for the men and women who work within our Atlanta Police Department if we are very clear on what our expectations or policies are, so that they can also be clear in return as to how they are to police and partner with our communities. And I can't say this enough. We have a police force full of people who work each and every day alongside our communities. They are a valued part of our communities. They are greatly respected within our communities. They volunteer at our police athletic league with our kids. They volunteer at our At Promise Youth Center. But clearly, the fact that I am standing here speaking about the shooting and killing of a black man who was sleeping in a drive-thru restaurant shows that there is a significant disconnect, and it's incumbent upon all of us.
Something else I wanted to play too. See what Yvette Cornell talking about.
My take is all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If that's in here at 10:33, I know I had a lot of problems tonight. But bam, please, hit that like button for me. Please, hit that like button for me. I would absolutely appreciate it if you would hit that like button for me. Please also hit the subscribe. I'm not going to get fancy with it right now, but hit the subscribe for me too. If you want to donate, as always, go to patreon.com/YCornell. You can go to donatebrown.com as well. You can do all of that good stuff. And go to I've changed the newsletter, so please go and do that. Subscribe to brown.com if you want to do that. I know I'm behind on some of the shirts. If you have emailed me, I have heard you. I think there's only one person I have an email back. But I have somebody, all of a sudden, it's always strange with shirts. Like all of a sudden a bunch of mediums came in, and I ain't had no mediums. And then on one side, all the extra larges was there. So it was just odd, and it wasn't like a whole lot, but it was just like, where do y'all come from? So I have a new little batch on the way. So if you haven't gotten, I have not forgotten about you. It's just been like that. So let's get into it, family. Please do not forget that the 18th, like I said, June 18th, that's this week, is our all call-in show. So if you want to call in, please make arrangements to do that and set your schedule aside. So we have Monday, Wednesday, and then the Thursday show. So And do not forget July the 30th, that's the last Thursday in the month. We will be reading this book. So if you have not picked up this book, please do it. Immigration and the Remaking of Black America, please do that. This is an important discussion, ladies and gentlemen. An important discussion. So please, let's make sure. Why everything want to update while I'm home? You don't never want. Anyway, so fam, let's get down to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, and we gonna get through it. See what I did right there? Ooh. Anyway, fam, there's a lot going on. Have you been watching the news today? Some of y'all haven't hit the subscribe button. Why? Why don't you hit the like? Why? Hit the like for me. For those of you who just came in. Well, let me just say this. As I do this, because I want to make sure everybody hears this conversation. So just give me 1 second, but I just want to make sure. Like, I don't know if we understand what's happening in this moment, or the sacrifices of this moment. I don't think we understand it as a collective, right? So when I say that, what I mean is something very specific. I'm asking you, and let me just, for those who haven't been around, I forget that people didn't get to see the news today or whatever. Adolph's been working. We the essential workers. So some of y'all may not have gotten to see what happened today. Let me bring that up for you just in case you did not. The Supreme Court's landmark LGBT rights decision explained in five simple sentences. So this is what happened today for those of you who were not around and did not see it. This is what happened today. The funniest thing though, I didn't see a lot from the people from the Negroes who normally, celebrate everything that gets them a job. I didn't see a lot of that. I didn't see a lot of that going on, but we gotta talk about it. Because this is a problem. Now listen, I want to make sure I'm clear. Let me bring this off the screen and make this smaller just 1 second. I want to make sure I'm clear, fam. I am not in favor of anybody being discriminated against or treated wrong. I am not in favor of none of that. I'm not in favor of that. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I don't know how we allowed people to divide our group based on all these little sections and delineations that don't matter more than race. I have said it before that race is the most consequential thing in an ADS person's life.
Yep.
And we're going to get into a few statistics in a minute that kind of prove that. Race is central to what we do. And if you are LGBT, you are included within that subgroup, so there's no reason to go start another subgroup. There's no reason for Black Lives Matter.
Right.
In terms of how it operates.
Right.
There's no reason to tell people that we are going to, because I think that's what led to the day when you decide, let me just paint a picture. When you decide, as an organization that's built off of black murder and oppression, when you decide that organization is going to center LGBT people and not cisgender people, and certainly not black men, when you make that decision, you lead to this moment. Now, this moment is important and a problem because of the law that led to it. But let me just say before I get into all that this law is also a problem because of how Black Lives Matter, and I'm talking about the leadership. I'm not talking about the people on the ground. I know some of y'all doing good work. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about the Alicia Guards, the Ray McKessons, everybody who said, we're not going to center. We're going to center people who have not had leadership in movements. I understand that. But the way to fix that is not to exclude certain people within the movement. It's to let people rise organically based on their skill sets. See, when you start excluding people and you just say, we're not going to have cis people, whatever, we're not going to do straight people, what you lead to is division within the community. And I honestly don't know how we ever got to a point where we allow people to tear us apart on the basis of stuff that shouldn't be central to us. We allowed for, who was it that said this? Who was it, Reggie, whatever? I think it might have been Reggie. The politics of revenge. where you were mistreated or something happened to you and so you're gonna go this way. You're not gonna go this way. I'm through with the Negroes. I'm going over here. That's kind of where we are. And I blame them for that because this movement that was based on ADOS and 400 years of oppression and accrued disadvantage, that was not intended. We are looking at something that is not working for its intended purpose. Do you all remember the show that I had on where I talked about how women weren't even supposed to be in the Civil Rights Act? Remember that? How a segregationists kind of threw it in there as a joke? I did that show. I think it's the LGBT show. And then so women got included. And now so what's happened with this Supreme Court lawsuit is something very specific. Everybody, instead of fighting their own fight, they shoehorn it. So instead of fighting your own fight and saying, you know what? See, let me just ask the LGBT activists, where's your Dr. King? Now, I'm not talking about your activists. Where's your Dr. King? Where's your Malcolm? Where are the spokespersons for these things in this era? And you don't have them, and I know why you don't have them. You don't have them because you use ours. You just decided you was going to use our stuff and say gay is the new black and move on in. And we let you. Now see, this is not saying again. And we're going to go to what it was because there was a Vox article that I thought kind of broke it down better than any of the articles that I've seen.
While Yvette is talking, the Democratic Party caters more to the LGBT community and the immigrants more than they cater to us black Americans. So this is why as black Americans we shouldn't be voting Democratic anymore. But I'm gonna let Yvette speak on this. Continue doing her thing.
The actual Supreme Court, right? So this is. I'm sorry I didn't preface it by that. This is Gorsuch. So let me just say, today we must decide whether an employer can fire someone simply for being homosexual or transgender. The answer is clear. An employer who fires an individual for being homosexual or transgender fires that person for traits or actions it would not have questioned in members of a different sex. Sex plays a necessary and undistinguishable role in the decision. Now, this is in favor of the decision. This is not Alito and them. This is something else. And this is about Gorsuch. This is from the Vox article. Gorsuch is a vocal proponent of textualism, the belief that the meaning of a law turns on its words alone, not on the intentions of the law's drafters. And Bostic forced Gorsuch to decide between his own conservative politics and following the broad language of a landmark civil rights law. Gorsuch chose his textualist approach in Bostock. He wrote the majority opinion. Yes. In Bostock, the court considered the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which forbids employment discrimination that occurs because of an employee's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Though there is little doubt that the people who drafted this law in 1964 did not believe they were enacting a ban on LGBTQ discrimination. That's key to me. The thrust of Gorsuch's opinion is that the expectations of lawmakers in 1964 simply do not matter. Now let me tell you why I have a problem with this. When you read sex, national origin, when you read sex, when you talk about Title VII, they're talking about sex. Femaleness, maleness, whatever. I don't know how that gets interpreted as sexual orientation. No, it's never right to discriminate on the job. That's awful. But that is not, but you gotta go fight that fight. So we gotta have a moment, I don't think people understand, we gotta have a moment of eating the fruit, and we ain't ate the fruit yet. What? Yvette? We ain't ate the fruit? I thought we was eating the fruit. We got that passed and we eating the fruit. No. We ain't ate nothing. intergenerational educational mobility by race. Look at that. Look at the black. It's below the Hispanic. Got here last. Only group below us is the Native Americans. So wait a minute. The two groups that was here the longest is on the bottom. How they do that? Why they do that?
Only in America.
See, we haven't. When people talk about the original sin, and some people say, no, the Native Americans are the original sin. Well, listen, a Native American can try to make that case to me, but you can't. You can't make it in favor. You can't make it for them. So, in terms of how I'm talking, because of slavery's contribution to America, in terms of what built America, that's our original sin. You haven't made right on that, and you're making right on this. So we out in the streets rioting over race, and all of a sudden the Supreme Court's make everything about LGBT and immigration. They said California, you can do what you want to do. You ain't got to enforce immigration laws. It looks like all these laws is benefiting everybody except us. Ain't that something though? Not something I expected.
But we're not supposed to say anything, right?
And so even when you look at charts like this one, right? The numbers aren't right, because this number, like when you look at intergenerational educational mobility by race, this includes black immigrants. So you're including wealthy Nigerians or Ghanaians or whatever. This is still inaccurate because we haven't carved out ADOS from the group. So when you don't carve out ADOS from the group, you still get a number that's inaccurate. And I don't know how we're living in a world where everything that happened to us, and we have not carved out a space specifically for ourselves, especially politically. I don't know what kind of world we're living in. But let me go back to the Vox article, just a couple more quotes. Consider, for example, an employer with two employees, both of whom are attracted to men. The two individuals are, to the employer's mind, materially identical in all respects, except that one is a man and the other is a woman. If the employer fires the male employee for no reason other than the fact that he is attracted to men, the employer discriminates against him for traits or action it tolerates in a female colleague. Yes. But this isn't about just in terms of sex, attracted to sex. This is about orientation. Something, by the way, that you can hide. Right? You can't go in. You can try to play a non-offensive black person and say, no, I'm not like those black people. I'm kind of an Oreo in what I do. Real little Oreo cookie for you. You can come in there and say like, no, I was raised in Zimbabwe, and I think the American Negroes are ungrateful and all they do, they don't appreciate the white people. You can do all of that, but it turns on something that you can't hide. I'm talking about physically. It turns on something that you can't hide physically. You can't hide race. Now, what's happened in terms of race is that people who are brown and people of color, other than ADOS, have been made white. They always said Italians were kind of dark, were made white, right? We have Indians who are coming here darker than me, way darker than me, and they're being made white. So you have groups that are dark that are being made white, but we have to find out what kind of Negro you are. Are you a Negro? Are you ADOS? These makers, and you can't hide. So it doesn't even make sense to shoehorn that into what. It never made sense to put women in there. And some civil rights leaders that I pointed out before had an issue with that, and rightly so. But it never made sense to do it. And we're at a point where instead of everybody else fighting their own battles, what they're doing is basically saying that why do I have to fight my own battle when I have ADOS? So if I have ADOS, why do I have to fight my own battle? Don't make no sense. I'm just gonna steal from their lineage, and I'm gonna steal from their culture, or whatever, and their struggle, and I'm gonna make it my own. I'm just gonna wiggle my way in it. And that's what we're looking at. There's nothing else that we're looking at. And then the most interesting thing about it is that, it's not even like, I don't even think we understand or talk about. It's not like you're really allies. Or solidarity. What solidarity is this? Who This is from the article. I just want to just get into it for a second. Solidarity. This January, a 2012 email, this is from the article, email leak from David Perusa, the manager of Washington DC gay bar JR's, to a graphic designer on flyers for the bar. The flyer in question was for an Olympics-themed party and featured an African-American athlete stretching. I don't know how to be PC about it, the manager in question wrote, but do you have a hot white guy? Reportedly, the graphic designer replied back with, first, don't actually put that in writing again. Yeah, people might know that you're a racist little gay man. Don't put that in writing. As the owner of JR's told Mike, I want to apologize for it because I don't think there's anything wrong with that for what was going on at the time. Everything was Abercrombie models and pretty boys. The fact that a black model shouldn't alienate a white audience, or that black models can be both pretty boys and Abercrombie, still seems off to him. Wonder why? Don't make no sense, do it? Listen, let me tell you exactly what's going to happen. If we keep going the way that we're going, right? So, there is no solidarity. Let that solidarity thing go unless somebody shows to you that they are exchanging and willing to sacrifice, give up whiteness, because a white gay man is a white man. Just like they talk about how awful Ellen is, that's just a white woman. That ain't no woman. She's an LGBT. No, that's a white woman. I know a white woman. When I see a white woman, that's what she is. And she behaves that way. That's why she was out there with George Bush. And everyone's like, why is she out there with Bush? They have separate politics. China don't matter amongst them peoples.
Sure don't.
They don't care about politics. That's just something they do to make you happy. So if there is no solidarity, what happens, Yvette? What happens? What do you think the end game will be? Well, I think everything gets funneled back to them. Let me tell you. When women, remember, if you think this LGBT ruling is going to help Negro LGBT people, let me give you an example. Ask yourself something. How did feminism help black women? Now, did the wealth level of black women go up because they were involved with feminism and supportive of feminism? I'm just asking a question. Now, I'm not saying, I understand we got womanists, and even black women who describe themselves as feminists are not like what I think of as the feminists of white women. So I'm not downing black women who identify that way, because when I talk to y'all feminism is very different than white women, and it's not the same thing. What I'm saying is, the wealth level didn't change. So what happened? So here's what happened. So remember, wealth is held in families. It's not held in gender. Wealth is not held, forgive me, children, wealth is not held in the vagina or titties or nothing else like that. Wealth is held in families. So what happened, you saw husbands and business partners say, hey, you go get the minority loan or whatever. Women are getting included now. Feminism, women, I am a woman here, well, women are getting included. I did it all. So you gonna get this minority loan, and because you're a woman and you're a minority, but you're my wife and I'm a white man, and you bring it all the way back home. And I'm gonna help you do that with your business, and I'm gonna run my other stuff over here. It all became a funnel all the way back. All the way back to the white family. There is no white man, white woman. There's only a white family. That white woman who was talking to you about feminism as a brother, a husband, a father, uncles, whatever, all of that stuff. And if you believe that she hates those people or dislikes them or wants less for them, then you crazy. She loves her family just like you love yours. So I don't even know what we're talking about. The same thing's about to happen. We're about to do the same thing all over again. We're about to do the same thing all over again. We're about to funnel some, we already funneled some rights. And here's what we are. We finna funnel, they already talking, we're gonna get to the gay reparations in a minute. They already been talking about that. Now we got the rule and discrimination, oh, it's bad. Now but you haven't fixed this though. African Americans with college degrees are twice as likely to be unemployed as other graduates. Haven't fixed race. We just forgot about race and moved on to people of color and all sorts of other things. We just left it alone.
Yep, sure did.
Did you know that leaving something alone don't fix it?
Sure don't.
Maybe. I mean, even with a sore or cut, you want to put a little ointment on that thing. You don't want to just kind of leave it out there red and inflamed, do you?
No, sure don't.
I'll say this again, I'm never going to stop saying this. Do you know it takes longer to heal a wound than it takes to inflict it? Do you know that we've endured 400 years of oppression, and that's what this signifies? That's what this article signifies. That's what this article is telling us about our experience.
Son ain't even trying to heal our wounds.
And instead of making us whole, the whole America just moved on to other groups.
Yep.
And some of our people went with them. Listen, I don't know what happened with other movements, but there's no reason, I don't care who you are, I don't care whether you're straight, LGBT, whatever, there's no reason for you not to be right here with ADOS. We don't exclude people, we all a big family. We don't exclude nobody. Ain't no reason to be running over there. You better not be running out today with no rainbow flag on your back looking silly. Because people gonna see you when you walk in, you still not gonna get the job. Cause you still black.
Hello.
Let's go on. Let's talk about like how our life looks. Employed population ratio by race ethnicity. Let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing. Now look at this. Pay close attention. You see this blue line is Hispanic. Now understand that the orange line is black. The middle like purplish blue line is white. Now understand, you see us all the way at the bottom? Employment population, you see us down there? And even when we fell off the cliff, we feel harder than everybody else. That is not the result of any kind of individual laziness or any kind of pathology. That is the result of 400 years of slavery. 400 years of accrued disadvantage. Slavery, I can draw a line all the way back to it. That's what it is. But everybody wants to move on.
I'm the first to get fired.
We're just gonna have people of color conversations, but we still got this. Look at the dates on the bottom. Now this is CEOs by race and ethnicity. The bottom takes us all the way from 2004 to 2019. You got more Hispanic than you got black.
Yep.
Again, Hispanic is the blue, black is the orange, Asian Indian is the red burgundy. We have 400 plus years, and everybody that came here after us has more than us. That is a consequence of systemic oppression. That is a consequence of institutionalized oppression. And you gotta fix that first before you go start passing out all kinds of rights. You gotta fix it. I don't know how we let America just kind of move past us and just say, well, you're here now. Well, hot diggity dog. I don't know what kind of, let me bring this off for 1 second. I'll put it up in the corner. I just don't know how. I really don't, and I've thought about it a lot. I don't know what kind of leadership we had, because we should not have been rainbow coalitioning. I understand. Listen, people talk about King, and people talk about, what King did. And people talk about, well, King wanted a people's movement. Yes, King wanted white people to come in and try to be in solidarity with us, and he said they weren't doing enough. He said that in his books, like white America isn't doing enough. White liberals aren't doing enough. He said that. And yes, he didn't have any of the data that we have though, because that's more recent. There's a lot that he couldn't have known. That's why you can't go around mimicking people and just saying what they say, because there's a lot these people couldn't have known because of the era that they came about in. But he tried. And it didn't work. And sometimes when I think about King, I'm looking in terms of this LGBT movement and thinking about the Civil Rights Act. He tried. I want to know, when you look at this man, what was he marching for? Was he marching for people who were differently gender identified? this a trans moment. Like that's no opposition to anybody who is. I'm not opposing trans people at all. I'm not opposing anybody. I'm just saying, how come this man did this, and then people who are here illegally got to be the dreamers? I'm asking a question. It just does not make sense to me. If somebody can answer the question, I would appreciate it. How did we get here? Because what you have to understand, not just about this, you have to understand that who King was talking about, forget what he tried to, see the thing he tried to do at the end was use a coalition of working people to try to like bring them in and help them understand or whatever. But it was still about us. All that march in the street, he had conversations about Negroes, that's still about us. That's still us. Ain't nobody else. That's nobody else. That's us. That's us who he's talking about. That's us who he's fighting for. And I think sometimes you have to understand, like, when people sacrifice, I want to make this clear. When people sacrifice for you, when people sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice for you, you have to keep that alive. You don't get to talk about what's coalition don't work. He tried it. Everybody, it don't work. White people ain't showing no inclinations. I've seen more in the street lately than I've ever seen. But that's still not showing to me enough that you want to give up whiteness. That's not enough for this man's sacrifice or for none of the sacrifices. That's the ultimate sacrifice. And you have to keep that alive. That's your job. That is your job. To get everything, the rights, the economic inclusion, that's the job. Your job is not to just partner with other brown people, LGBT or minorities, because this man died for it. And Malcolm X and Fannie Lou Hamer had heart disease. And all the people. Alright, what did she die? Heart attack, something like that, just poor and no money. Like, when you look at all of our people who were in this, whether you're talking about Fannie Lou, whether you're talking about Ella Baker, whether you're talking about King. Now I know all these people didn't get murdered, but like there is a sacrifice. King made the ultimate sacrifice. Other people just made other sacrifices. This is the ultimate sacrifice. You don't get to go away from it. You get to, like, when somebody makes the ultimate sacrifice, the only thing you get to do is make it matter. That's it. You don't get to be Andrew Young, who was King's friend, and now you over here talking about we got Wall Street to come in here and pay for a whole bunch of stuff. I think we did a bunch of stuff with Wall Street. And America doesn't get to do what it just did. You gotta make everybody go through the same process. See, nothing's fair if we're the only ones that have to do the hard work. Right? Nothing's fair if ADOS has to go through slavery and 400 years of oppression, and these people in like 30 years, the LGBT activists have turned it from like everybody doing propositions, we never will have gay marriage, to marriage equality and all the rights. No, you gotta go through what we go through. And I don't care who tells me, well, that's not right, that y'all had to go through it. Well, I don't care. Like you don't have to go through exactly what we went through, because you're never gonna be slaves because you're white. I mean, I'm talking about the majority. Like ADOS, y'all still us. LGBT or not, you us. We still together. It's all us. You don't get to do that. You don't get to like skip the line. And here's what happens when you skip the line. And shout out to the fan who posted this. I didn't even have to look hard for it. I appreciate it. This is where we're headed. This is what happens. They were already talking about gay reparations, right? The case for gay reparations. They were already talking about it. Now we ain't had no reparations. Slaves built the country. We had a doggone thing. Don't you think this is gonna lead to? They gonna find a way to funnel some money. Because see what this does is it makes white men a minority. See, but you made everybody a minority. It was black people. I mean, ADOS and everybody who came over, Mexicans, everybody who was brown, and then you made gay people. So everybody's a minority now, except straight white men. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? This is from the article. Hold on a second. Let me make it a little smaller. With the surprise apology, the United States has taken its most significant leap yet into gay reparation, or policies intended to address the legacy of state-sanctioned repression of homosexuals. Although relatively new to the United States, gay reparation has been debated and legislated around the world for close to 2 decades and is logical. Now, first, the thing is, I don't care what happened around the world. You can't do that until you fix you can't until you fix race in America, until you fix ADOS. What are you talking about? We can't even have this conversation. Although there is no one-size-fits-all model when it comes to gay reparation, countries have taken 3 distinct approaches. The most common is moral rehabilitation, which entails a formal apology by the state and the expunging of criminal records of those convicted of homosexual offense. There's also a financial compensation for loss of income and pension. Finally, there's truth-telling, or an official report on past wrongs that incorporate steps for reparation. These are not mutually exclusive approaches. In fact, as recent experiences show, they are often pursued simultaneously or sequentially. In 2007, as part of the landmark law of historical memory, which recognized the victims of the Spanish Civil War and the dictatorship of Francisco Franco, including homosexuals, it became possible for anyone who suffered economic hardship because of their sexual orientation to seek compensation from the state and to petition that, according to criminal record, the criminal record be expunged. Blah blah blah. Now let me just say one thing, fam. When we talk about allyship, we talk about gay allyship, and all that new stuff. When you talk about that, what you have to understand is that anybody who is your real ally would say, we're not doing this until ADOS gets it first. Even if we believe we should get it, but ADOS goes first. Anyone who believed that would have been outside the Supreme Court for Byron Allen's case. I didn't see no rainbow flags. When Byron Allen's case came, I didn't see no rainbow flags out there. I didn't see one. I sent a bunch of pictures from all my ADOS family that was out there, and they were sending me all kinds of videos and images. I didn't see not one rainbow flag. Not one. So, it's very interesting to me that I didn't see that. So I don't know how y'all cry solidarity, because really when the Byron Allen case came and it was about the Civil Rights Act, ACC, I didn't see. Now they were trying to use it now. They're going to try to shoehorn into it, but they're not going to come out and fight for it. They're not going to come out and do nothing for it. That's not solidarity. You can't let people steal your whole story, like the whole narrative. So the whole up from slavery, everybody just made that them. I saw a man today trying to talk about lynchings for people of color on the timeline. Let's go to another one. To the gay reparations. That's where we're going. Since 2017, Canada, Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand, and several Australian states have issued apologies to gay and bisexual men and other members of the LGBT community convicted for consensual same-sex activities before they were decriminalized, and have announced plans to expunge the records of their convictions. Canada's apology was preceded by a report written by the country's leading gay rights organization chronicling systemic gay discrimination and accompanied by a payout of $85 million to the victims of the so-called gay purge. The gay purge that lasted until the 1990s and that caused thousands to lose their jobs and face prosecution. Child, we got much longer than that, honey, in terms of what ADOS been through. Certainly the case for gay reparations in the United States is as compelling, if not more, so than in other Western democracies. President Dwight Eisenhower's 1953 Executive Order 10450, which called for the expulsion of homosexuals from all levels of federal government contributed to the lavender scare, the hunting of homosexuals throughout the federal government. Now, we were being hunted for a very different reason in the main. To federal bureaucracy, from the post office to the military to diplomatic corps, is also ushered in decades of initiatives, court rulings, and laws that demonize homosexuals. Now again, family, I'm not saying none of this was right, but I'm saying, like, how is this country putting so many carts before the horse wagon? How are we doing it? Don't make no sense. We ain't got nothing. Built the whole country. Y'all already done moved on. This is already, and it's funny, like, I don't get into it, but I don't know why stuff happens, right? Because it's funny, it's like even the TV and the news today kind of pivoted. So we're doing all this, it's basically kind of a race war, you know, or whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, in the sense of, that's not a war, but it's like, that's how, you know, it's back and forth, and like we're tearing down Confederate statues and stuff. So it feels really kind of in a moment where we are really dealing with race and trying to not only have this conversation and explain what is required, and then you come down with this in the middle of it. And it kind of feels like some people feel like maybe I'm not in the streets because we've had a win. It's funny how conservatives, they didn't do anything with the police and immunity for cops. So it's funny how these conservative judges can do so much for immigrants and other communities, but can't do a doggone thing for Negroes. That's the American way, though, ain't it? So let me get through this, family, and then we'll head on. But I mentioned this earlier. Let me put this up because I mentioned this. You know, this guy's trying to write about lynchings, but blacks and Latinos and Native Americans, and, you know, it's funny because nobody ever talks about numbers. Like, we always talk about, you know, the Immigration Act and immigrants being to the right of the decimal point before the Immigration Act of 1965. So part of the problem, part of what happens here is that people want to say, well, there were blacks lynched, there were Italians lynched, there were Mexicans, and nobody wants to say, like, what's the number, and how long did it last, and what about peonage, and what about redlining, and what about convict? Like, all of this stuff is all together. That's why we're still on the bottom. Like, I said it on Twitter today. Pretty soon we're going to get to a place where people are going to be like, you know, where people of color were slaves. Not ADOS, I mean, not black people who were brought here. No, they're going to get to the point where they're just going to say, well, people of color were slaves. We were all slaves, and so we all get it. It's funny. You can come here. You can come here and be undocumented today and get more love from the Supreme Court than ADOS gets. Because let me just read this really quick before we go to break. The Supreme Court on Monday declined to take up California's sanctuary law that forbids local law enforcement in most cases from cooperating with aggressive federal action to identify and deport undocumented immigrants. It's like, you know, so, you know, and the thing that's so crazy about this moment is that the people who are supposed to be our leaders are quiet. And like, this is our life. I don't know what the life is like. Anti-black hiring discrimination is as prevalent as it was today as in 1989. This is our life. White high school dropouts are as likely to land jobs as black college students. That's our life. And I don't understand why, as a group, we're not in an uproar about all of this. Everybody the whole country just moving on without us. And I understand that we're in an uproar because of what happened and the murders that happened, right? From Breonna Taylor, you know, with Ahmaud Arbery, when we talk about George Floyd, I understand that. But I'm saying there's something there's something else there that I don't think we're upset enough about. How white households headed by high school dropouts are 3 times wealthier than black families led by a college graduate. How? By what right? So somebody's gonna get reparations, and whoever gets it, it's really gonna depend on who wanna fight for it. You want to fight? You want to barbecue? You gonna mildew? What you gonna do? And that's a question that everybody has to ask. And you can't just be flipping and flopping and doing all kinds of other stuff. Well, I was gonna do it today, but then I don't know. I decided not to. But I'm real happy for everybody else. No, that's not how any of this works. This is about singularity, specificity. We have to focus on ourselves. If we don't focus on ourselves, we lose. It's just that way. Because if you want to see, there was a great article I put up earlier today on Twitter, and it said something very interesting. It said that it was talking about what other people, and I'll leave you with this. It was saying what an activist can learn from gay activists. And what did they learn? They learned that what I learned when I read it is that gay activists work with specificity. They don't be worried about everybody, no solidarity. No, we're working on marriage equality and rights. We ain't working on all that other stuff. And that's how they win. And they also win because, a lot of white people with money and advocacy stuff, that's not us. I don't know what kind of solidarity you're doing. But give me a few minutes, fam. I'm going to leave it on that. I'm going to go to break. We're going to take a few calls, come back, have a conversation. Straight into the calls. Now some of y'all got my bed. So I am going to. I'm going to 216. 216. What's your name? Hold on. Something's going on with this thing. What's your name? Where you calling from, Cleveland?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing fine. D-Dog here, representing Cleveland. Just I just want to hit on a few points, and I'll be very brief.
Okay.
Man, you always say that we have 400 years of full disadvantage. And that just resonates with me. But I want to go to this as well. We are for the 2%. And what I mean by 2% is that we're going to have to start picking and choosing, and we're going to have to draw the line in the sand. The Tea Party did it. The 1% did it. And when I say 2%, that's the 2% of the wealth that we own. Every time we go somewhere, we should say that. Now, here's another thing, too, sister, that you hit on. You talked a little bit about LGBTQ movement. There's not a meeting, there's not a place that I go in without acknowledging pronouns now. There's a new book talking about what's your pronoun. You, his, he. So their issues are always on the table. They're always on the table and they're front and center. Another thing too, when we talk about the other one, I'm sorry here. When we look at this historical legacy of history, and we're talking about the land, and we're talking about Native Americans. I have to say this too, Yvette. We're going to have to address the issue with Native Americans. Yes, we understand that Native Americans, they have been subjugated to horrors, but when we talk about it, we have to also acknowledge that Native Americans own ADOS people. We have to bring this allow that just to slide. So I want to end with this real quick, so I have a question for you about our ADOS monitor, and I love that because the descendant of slavery gives us an experience and a history that ties us to this country and what has been done wrong with us, My question to you, sister, is when we use the word black, do we want to get rid of the word black? Because you mentioned here when you were talking, is that blackness describes our experience. It describes the way that we have been subjugated to chattel slavery. The only reason I bring it up, sister, about the black ADOS banner is because we saw Joe Biden trying to throw in Native Americans in our justice claim. So we're only saying descendants of slavery, we know that Native Americans in early New England colonies and openings, they were enslaved. So I'm just looking at it as a black person. I just want to get your thought on this.
Okay, appreciate it, fam. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you, fam. I appreciate you. I think people always talk about, well, this group was kind of enslaved and whatever. That's how you try to shoehorn, right? You find like an aberration. Like the first part is, yes, that doesn't much matter to me if they were enslaved somewhere or in some part or whatever, because you're talking about what you're talking about when you talk about us is when we talk about being worth all the railroads and all that stuff. We're talking about the slaves who built the country. Now, I'm not mad at Native Americans for fighting or none of that, but because you fought and you did all that, you decided that you weren't going to be no slave or whatever, you'd be massacred first or whatever happened, Trail of Tears, all of that. You didn't build the country. There's a cost to that. And I don't mean no disrespect. You also own slaves. So you can't own a slave and then say, I'm entitled to the same thing slaves are getting. And nobody, and listen, when y'all got casinos and all that kind of stuff, we didn't say nothing. We didn't say we get casinos too. We never said that. We didn't say where our casinos at. We didn't say anything. We didn't bother your business. We didn't bother your business, and now it's time for you to mind your business. Because this is our business. You gotta mind your business. You had slaves, so you don't get none of this. And so it's when you say ADOS, you're talking about a group that not only built the country, but you're also talking about a group that even after that building was systemically oppressed in a specific way. Now, I'm not even talking about how Native Americans live on the reservation. I'm not talking about that because they have wealthy tribes and they're really, really poor tribes. That's a whole nother thing. I'm talking about us, and I don't have to include anybody in my claim because y'all didn't include anybody in your claim. As a matter of fact, you have excluded a lot of ADOS in your claim. You have kicked us out. You said I'm going to handle my business without you, and you're not part of my business or my community. So I get to say the same thing to you. Fair is fair. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I get to say the same thing, and I have to say my contribution to the country as a country is greater than yours. People don't want to hear it, but this is what it is. So anyway, I'm going to my next call. I am going now to 312. 312, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Okay. But let me just say this, and I'm gonna let you finish. I'm not tearing them down. I'm just saying that we're a specific group with a specific contribution. The Native Americans told us the same thing. The Native Americans told us we're a specific group and we get a specific thing. And I didn't think that they were tearing me down when they said that. I didn't say that y'all were tearing me down. I said, okay, you got it. Now you gotta say to us, okay, you got it.
No, I understand that. I mean, I understand that when we do make these criticisms, it's usually because of what was said in the newspaper or what was said in the media. None of these people have actually came out and said that this was their experience. So I just want to make that comment.
Let's go back and forth for a second. What I haven't seen, when Joe Biden said Native Americans should get it too, what Native Americans needed to do for me is to come out and say, no, Joe Biden, you're wrong. This is not our claim. We're still working on our claim. We've gotten part of it. We haven't gotten enough, and we're working on it. But I need Native Americans to be vocal. I don't need you all to sit back and not say a lot. I need you to say, because I need you to say this is their claim. Like I shouldn't have to be the loudest person saying that. I need Native Americans to say, no, Joe Biden, this conversation is about ADOS. Let them do that. Because I will let you go do your conversation about what you need. And and if somebody says something, I'll be like, no, let them do the casinos or whatever. Like I'm not gonna get involved, right? And I'm not gonna say so I need people to get vocal because they didn't say anything really divisive, but I need you to kind of get out in front of what is being used as something to dilute our justice claim. But I don't consider Native Americans enemies of mine. So I'm not trying to be divisive with them. I'm just trying to be clear.
Well, what would have been acceptable for you in terms of them, when you say them, coming up and speaking out, what would have been acceptable for your tribal leader or president of the Navajo Nation?
I'll take all of it. But let me just say, a couple would have been nice. Give me a couple of tribal leaders, or a few people to come out and vocally say, listen, I want to be on the news to say let the Negroes have their justice claim. I want to be out front and outspoken about the fact that this is their moment. Like, that would have been nice to see. Now, I'm not upset, I'm not pissed off or mad about it, but I'm just saying that, like, I get the right to kind of make a distinction and say, like, we're very different. That's not, now I'm sure the Native Americans would make a distinction too and say we're very different. And they would be right. Like, neither one of us would be wrong.
From my perspective, working politicians, from my perspective, I think that they're being dragged into that person. So that's why I say I don't want to put too much energy on calling them out when I know that they are not the ones to say names. That's all. But I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But the first question that I had was, what would your opinion be about possibly suing the United States government before the United Nations for reparations, waiting on our government to pick up the fees and overcome themselves?
My opinion is that the United Nations is a toothless tiger in this regard. You know, Malcolm X went to the UN, and a whole lot of other people are going to the UN. It doesn't have power. The United States government is not going to do anything that the UN wants or need them to do. I don't care how you vote or what you do. So it's not going to work. Like, we have to win here. We have to win with America. And I know that's an uphill battle because America's America, but nobody knows the underbelly of America like us. We should have that. We should have that roadmap memorized.
Well, considering that the dynamic of the power dynamics of things is not predominantly American now. You've got China that surged a lot of their influence over different countries. So it looks a lot differently than it did 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, I still don't think it works. It don't work. They can't make the UN can't make America do nothing. Like, the UN came here and said, the UN came here and went to Loudon County, Louisiana. I mean, not Louisiana, Lord, Alabama, and said, like, this is third world poverty. And we've never seen any place this poor in the first world, and America did nothing. And I don't care if they vote or do whatever, America's not going to do anything. And the thing is, even an America that would think about doing something would be a previous America. This America is very different. This Trump America is a very different kind of America. They're not going to do anything.
Understood. Okay, and my last question is about the recent settlement between Mr. Butterfield and Comcast. What do you feel about that?
I'm kind of surprised they gave him anything. I mean, just for me, like, I feel like, you know, he has to salvage it if he can. I'm surprised that they did it. But I feel like, you know, I'm surprised that after the Supreme Court did what they did, he was able to pull that off. Kudos to him. But what Barn Allen said remains true. Barn told us, I'm the last one. They don't want no more multi-millionaire, billionaire Negroes. They don't want to create no more Bob Johnsons. He said that I'm the last one, and I think part of the reason they did that is because they said, yeah, we'll do this because you're gonna be the last one. We're gonna make sure of it. So take these whatever, do your thing. We don't want no more trouble, but yeah, you're gonna be the last one. And I think that, like, you know, as ADOS, we've done what we can, not just as a lineage, but as us, like in terms of activism and activists, y'all who got out there and were there when we were in Antonio, in Alabama. But, like, we can't do it, like, as a group of people, in terms of Antonio's show, my show, and you all in the chat, the people who are gonna watch tomorrow. We can't do this alone. The Black America, the ADOS America and Black America, those who are, everybody got to join in with us. And I don't see enough of that. Now, people are coming along slowly, but I don't think we have time. I don't know if we have time for people to come along as slow as they coming. And I agree, you gotta take patience with them because people learn as they learn. I'm not telling you to try to rush nobody or shake nobody, but what I'm telling you is that America is moving very fast and it's a very complex country. And I don't know if people who need reparations and everything that you're gonna need, and you actually already need, but it's gonna get worse, to have an American life during a pandemic, I don't know why those people aren't doing and moving faster to get what we need. That's what I'm saying.
Well, thank you for your time. I'd like to say to the chat just really quickly, I am active that's all the messages going on. I am active.
Okay. I see. All right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I didn't know. I don't know what's going on out there with the fam. I'm going down to 785. 785, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Pat.
Hey, how you doing?
Joan from, this is Joan from Kansas.
Hey, what's going on? Long time.
Yeah, it's been a little while. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I got a little headache. Had a headache for a few days, but I'm doing all right.
Well, you're feeling better.
It ain't no problem.
Pardon me?
I said no problem. I'll deal with it.
Okay. I just called in to answer your question about why it seems like everybody around us has been getting, and continues to get things when we've been here actually longer than anybody else, and haven't gotten a dollar. And my answer to that question is twofold. Number one, now I'm not going to get too deep into this, but it has to do with philosophy and value.
Okay.
The European value system is based on dichotomous logic. And just to make it short, they look at things as either or. So you have white is good, black is bad. That's how come everybody can come here and be white. Because they want to be opposite of us, as black. That falls into that Crayola nonsense. And we, as Native Americans, operate under their European value system. However, we as Africans,
I'm not African.
our value systems are diurnal. We look at things both and. So we don't divide the world into two spheres like they do. We're able to think in a circular manner. We can include other people in our thinking. And their basis is on measurement, and our basis is on relationship, which is one of our downfalls, which is why we tend to include everybody with us, because we're always thinking about relationship. Am I making any sense so far?
I'm just not African. Like you're just not gonna get me to identify as African. I've been to the continent one time. I visited one country, but my stance has always been, and it's just true. Like ADOS is a unique kind of amalgamation, and we have been, even with immigrant groups, what happens after like the second generation, once you get to the third and fourth generations, they don't even identify. They don't have a connection with that country anymore. And we weren't an immigrant group, but I'm just saying, like there is no connection. Like we are American. Like Africa is like this continent, and one continent doesn't have like any kind of specific kind of culture or cultural norms. Like Egypt is not Ethiopia. Ethiopia is not Kenya. Kenya is not South Africa. South Africa is not Ghana. Ghana is not Nigeria. And Nigeria is not the Congo. So you have a bunch of places, because they don't have a lot of like planes going right back and forth all the time like they do, in Europe and other places. You don't even have like a connection because they visit each other. So there is no like uniform kind of Africa. And even if there were, I wouldn't have a connection to it.
Right. And I agree with everything you just said. But when we were born here, we were born from several different places, from central to west, well, actually all different areas of the African continent. And you're right. But what I'm saying is, on a philosophical viewpoint, we think differently than Europeans think. However, we've had to adopt their manner of thinking in order to exist here on this continent with them. So that's what I mean by being African. I don't mean, because, I agree with all what you said. we're not African. We're just not. Okay. Now, fast forward. Get us through slavery. And once again, 50 minutes back out of the way, Europeans, white Americans, think that they did us a favor by enslaving us. And they did us another favor by, quote, setting us free. And unfortunately, we, the English people, we have bought into that idea that we were taken out of, and just the way they have presented it. They've taken us out of the jungle, out of living in mud huts and swinging from trees, and brought us over here, gave us Christianity, and taught us how to, I don't know, be civilized. And we have bought into that. And today, 2020, you have still got me with that slave mentality that feel like they have been granted a special dispensation by being brought off the continent, off our home continent, to, and yes, I know this is home, but bringing us here and giving us their civilization, we think that they did us a favor and that we ought to be grateful for it.
Alright, family, I gotta go to the next call, so I can't go longer. I appreciate your call. I'll answer it on the other side. I mean, I think white winners have used that, but I don't even think that causes any water now. Ain't nobody grateful for being sold over here, because it wasn't no brawl. We were sold by a tribe that hated another tribe, so the Africans, everybody wants us to have a connection to, sold us over here to the white man. So I don't even know what but like, there's no gratitude for, what are you talking about? And we've been here, so I understand what she's saying, but there's no gratitude, and there should be any gratitude. But I don't know how anybody who thinks that way anymore. Like, y'all should be grateful. Who says that now? But we've been here 400 plus years now. White people, let that go. All that stuff you talking. Like, you should be grateful we built the country, and like we ate all the failure so you could have a good life. Now give it back. So anyway, I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 443. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing tonight? This is Trayvon from Baltimore.
Hey Trayvon, how you doing?
I just wanted to talk about the guy that you were talking about earlier, the thread, Robert guy. I was going through the thread and I saw that he dropped an article about Mexican victims of lynching. It was an AP article, and apparently he was a co-author of that article. And in it said that it was like 5,000 Mexican American victims from 1910 to 1920. Now, that raised my eyebrows immediately because, there's a whole museum dedicated to the victims of slavery. The victims of lynching in Mississippi, and it's less than 4,000 Mexican Americans. So within 10 years, he's saying that 5,000 Mexican Americans were slaughtered. And he doesn't link any sources. Like, he says historians, but he links to none of that. But here's what I want to read real quick, and it's kind of making sense now that he brings that up. So he just read a really quickly. He says, and this was really much. This was written in 2019. So in 2019, the U.S. prepared to mark the 100th anniversary of the Red Summer, a period in 1919 when white mobs attacked and murdered African Americans in dozens of cities across the country. Some historians and Latino activists say now is the time to acknowledge the terror experienced by Mexican Americans around the same period. And then he goes into the people, the groups involved were complicit in the year and the estimated 5,000. He co-op in memory of the Red Summer, and then this year, he does the co-op, the victims of lynching. It's this weird thing where, I know you heard of the guy, his name is Steve. He's great on the show. He has a podcast called Champagne Shark. He brings this up in an episode with Apple Pets, that I highly recommend. And it's basically that we've reached this ideological kind of, or rather intellectual kind of cliff in terms of the mainstream of people. They're tired of the mechanisms, the machinations, but they don't want to change anything. Like, they can't imagine a world where black people aren't on the bottom.
Oh, wow.
So as they see us, it gets really heavy. It's a great episode, but as they see us,
Yeah, I've done a Champagne Shark episode a while back. Yes, yeah, I appreciate it. Go ahead, man.
like you see, like with these calls for when we bring up reparations, whenever black people start to get steam and start to kind of show that the socioeconomic status of the country is rattled and changed, there's this immediate scramble by all the other in between black and white to kind of co-opt under the guise of unity, that we're all in this together under the vagary of minority and even worse, people of color, which is just colored by another name in my opinion. But it's just that it's just this constant idea that rings just throughout our history. And I just find it really interesting that whenever something comes up that it could be in our favor, there's this, for lack of a better term, this immediate reflexive reaction to prevent being niggerized. Like, no one wants to be. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, because, you know, you see it like at the moment that we're talking about reparations, and we're talking about lynchings and everything that happened, your idea of like, it's to write a story, but like, you know, as his last name was Contreras, your idea is like to say like, oh, but Mexicans and everybody else was lynched too. And you don't even understand, like, as a thinker, you're not a thinker. Because first of all, lynching was something to do to kind of keep these ex-slaves and even back then slaves, but like in their place, right? And to keep them terrorized as a group because of who we were and the numbers that we were and everything like that. Like, and I told them, like, you know, show your numbers, show your work. Like, what are the numbers? Like, it's not like there were as many or more Mexicans here and we were all getting lynched. No, this is our story. Just because our story like happened to an aberrational group, right, doesn't make it your story. And then you didn't, like, your group wasn't just like lynching happened and then our group was then systemically oppressed after that, like it just became mechanized every generation. You didn't have that, but what you want to do is just kind of place yourself in that, so you can be like, well, no, it wasn't just them. And you say, no, I'm just being fair. I'm just talking about everybody. No, you just want to make lynchings into a people of color episode, as opposed to like, this is the Adolf story. This is our story, and it doesn't matter. It's just like, we all know that like a lot of stuff happens, but like you're trying to make this into your quintessential story too. You're trying to make a story where people of color always got lynched, where it's not like Adolf. And pretty soon, like I said, it's going to be a story of, well, you know, everybody was slaves. People of color were slaves. And it's not going to be an Adolf narrative no more. A history.
Yeah, and it completely ignores race and how it evolved, like, in the late 19th and throughout the 20th century. You know, it's like, Mexican Americans weren't considered like a race. They were considered either two races or just mainly white.
White. The white people were considered white a lot of times. And then there were other times where they, after a while, they wouldn't. But there were a lot of they were considered white. Like, I don't even think people understand how races kind of ebbed and flowed in this country. They weren't always like considered how they're considered now. And even now they get to be made white. A while ago I put together a great article about how they even claim white on the census. Like, stop trying to claim something that you aren't. Like, let people have their story. Nobody wants to let us have anything. And too many of us are too weak to snatch it.
Yeah, that just goes to the whole collective self-esteem thing, the lack of it that we have. But it really just from the bullshit alarm. I'm sorry. also the Patrol Act was in the 30s, and that brought a huge force of Mexicans into the country during World War II to basically stop Negroes from economically supplying the white boys and with the white war. So you telling me that the Mexicans that we just terrorized willingly came over to work in a racist country that was just terrorizing them 10 years prior?
It ain't even huge swaths either. It's not like people exaggerate numbers. Like, yeah, it was so, it wasn't no huge swath. People exaggerate stuff, and then like how, you know, it's kind of like people talk about the Chinese railroad builders. Stop talking about it like that. Like, it's just, they just exaggerate everything to be like us too.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess this is not the worst part, but it's just, people want to make you feel like an asshole for this. It's like, no, you're being an asshole. I'm just trying to help
Language. The children watch it.
Apologies. We're not the ones that have to, you're putting us in this position, and you're doing it on the guise of being woke, and smugly so, and it's beyond irritating. It's like a sunburn at this point. I'm done.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, they just, you know, nobody wants to let us have anything. Everybody just like wants to just use us as like, you know, the doormat to get inside the house. And if you're the doormat that lets everybody else get inside the house, then you get stepped on and you stay outside. Anybody ever do like I'm talking about that doormat right outside the door. That doormat right outside the door just catches on the mud. It don't get in the house. And even if you bring your doormat inside the house, it stays right at the door. And everybody else goes and eats dinner, and you just catch the mud. And like that's what we get used for. We get used to help everybody else enter America, but we don't get to eat the fruits of America. We're at the door, dirty, muddy, and never get to like be people. Doormat isn't a person. You just get to like be the catch-all. It's kind of what we are, and we just let people just talk. Like everybody. Like everybody from Roland Martin to everybody who in media should call that guy out and be like, listen, this is not your story. But everybody's too quiet, and that's how we live. So let me go to the next call. I'm going to 816. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Pretty good. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. I'm not going to be that deep. I don't have an article today. But I've been paying attention, and I think it's what you just were touching on. It's very easy for us to be overlooked when our own people in position won't speak. Remember Al Sharpton? He's been paid for. We saw the salary. You know, he's been paid for. If you never see the people, and he's marginalized, he got rid of it back. His community got assassinated back when the good days. We have nobody. We have everybody calling themselves black. From Candace Owens, Chesney Peterson, all the way to you, and everybody in between. And I've heard you before, and I've heard you say the flattening of blackness. The flattening of blackness is dangerous for us. Legally, our own laws can't speak for us in this space. Those type of people have to, we make people speak that you're riding it. You know, the thing is, flattening of blackness is that man knows. He knows what it is, he knows what he did. We don't even forget the task on his crime deal. And I was in my 20s, I got a lot of friends that got caught up in that. I was in my 20s when the crime happened on my way to college. And I got a lot of people that got caught up. Nobody took the task on that in Brooklyn. And when they do have it now, it's like a Charlemagne that don't know how to put the screws to it. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, they play us.
Every time.
And we continue to allow it. I don't see how anybody can really, I listened to Al Sharpton at the eulogy at the funeral, and he said that I just not really going to put the energy that went through him and put it up in my hand. Man, you ain't doing nothing. You're not doing it. And by the sound of it, they got you real cheap on it. They got you real cheap. You know, some damn little pennies there, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They got you real cheap to sell out your people.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just rambling, but it's kind of irritating.
No, you're fine, man.
We talk, and we got black people, like I stated, from Candace Owens all the way to you, and everybody in between. And somebody
accountable. It has to happen. You know, I think you work for whoever pays you. Like, and I think, you know, even when you go back to MLK or whatever, like you see the money he was getting from the community. The problem is, like, you have to get money from the community, but that means that you're not gonna be super rich, right? That means you're not gonna be able to live what Al Sharpton lived with a Trader Joe's in the lobby, right? And I think if you're gonna lead, though, you have to be okay with that. That, like, that might not be my reality, because that's what happens if I lead this group, because they're the ones who pay me, and that means I can't live that life. And that's just what it is. And I don't think we force people to accept that, like, you know, as a person who's trying to be an activist, there's no way for you to be, like, not bought if you're not willing to be bought by us. See, it's not even about being bought. You gotta be bought by your people. This is who pays you. If all these white people in your pockets, I don't even know how we can have any kind of expectation. There's too many hands putting dollar bills in your pocket.
But you know what, Ms. Cornell, I agree with you. And that goes even from Oprah on down. I mean, the wealthiest of black people, somebody white signs their check.
Yeah.
I mean, real talk, the wealthiest of wealthy white black people in America, somebody white signs their paycheck. Somewhere. Maybe we have like a Michael Jordan now that really has true ownership of something, physical that he can touch and leave to his family. But when you really consider the grand scheme of wealth, and Tone talked about it, Mike Bloomberg spent $500 million on his campaign.
Yep.
And as the story goes in the journal, he don't have it back by the end of the year.
Yep, he didn't feel that.
That's that thing. We don't have that. Oprah had to sell off some assets. I don't know if she had a fire sale or whatever. Her sister had to do what she had to do and sell something.
Yep.
That's not ownership. That's not a boss. Mike Bloomberg is a boss. He spent $500 billion, half of Oprah and Michael Jordan's wealth. They couldn't do that and be billionaires still.
No, see, we don't have like yeah, that's the thing. That's why reparations is so important. Like, we didn't get intergenerational wealth because you need that to see. You would have needed that to see. Michael Jordan is different, like, in the sense that he got money from a sport, but, like, that's why he's not Bloomberg. Understand when you talk about why HBCUs don't get money. Bloomberg gave all that money to Johns Hopkins because he has it to give. We don't have people who just have it to give and be like, listen, you take this 20 mil or whatever, and then somebody else say, yeah, you take this 50 mil. Like, that's what race, the creation of race has built for us. And I don't know if we really have understood how it has limited our opportunities and chances, even in leadership. We can't just, like, well, this leader's gonna make whatever and we just gonna throw it. No, we be needing money. You know what I mean? And so the leader has to take a sacrifice. And I don't think people who want to do that are willing to do that because they see all this money around you. Like King said too, like, it's one thing being poor, it's another thing being poor and seeing wealth everywhere. That's a different kind of poverty. You're not poor around everybody who's poor.
And you ain't got no access to it.
No access to it.
You have zero chance, a snowball's chance in torment of getting a nickel of it. Just gonna last you.
Yep.
And it's disappointing. I mean, somebody say something. I mean, you got a voice, man. And I ask you every time I call, it's my fourth time calling you. And my question is this: through in the devil, do we get you on revolt? They got campus owners.
Let me just say this. I don't think it matters. Like, I want you to understand. So look at the numbers. Sometimes look at the numbers. Look at the numbers of revolt. Like, I want you, when you look at these numbers, look at the numbers of Joy Reid. Like, these people aren't even getting real numbers. They struggling. Like, they're not even getting like big numbers. What I would say, and then the thing is too, you don't want anybody to really control your content. Like, instead of going there, what I would say is we need to build up here. Because this is our house. We need to build up this channel. You know what I mean? And Antonio's channel, because this is our house. And I don't need to go in your house. Like, if I go over there and I see you got 4 million views and all that, I'm like, dang, you really doing it. Ain't nobody doing it though. And then we got good views. Like, the views they get, somebody might click on, you heard that little baby was on or something, you click on. Nah, we got people like who stay throughout the whole thing and are interested in the chapters and doing stuff. We have people who are invested. So even the viewers that we have are the better viewers. Like, ain't nobody clicking on to see an entertainer or whatever, or comic or whatever who's ever on there. It's a different kind of thing. And the way you know it is because everybody knows us. Like, even people who try to act like they don't know if they throw little shade shots or whatever, this political space isn't big enough for you not to know what we're saying. That's how we got reparations on the table, is because you heard us. Whether you say my name or not, I don't have an ego, so I don't care. It would be great if you said ADOS as a group, but it's not. Whether you say my name or not, I know you heard me because reparations is there. I know you heard Antonio because reparations is there. I know you heard everybody in the group chat because reparations was on the Democrat platform and people were talking about it. Never happened before. I know you heard us because Marion Williams was on Antonio's show and he talked to her behind the scenes and tried to get her to a place to understand work. I know you heard us. Stop playing games. And you play. Well, you can play if you want to, but I know you're playing.
I think Joe hit it best with that, brother. Did he let me know? He said a little bit.
Yeah.
But you gotta back up, and I agree because he's holding the right word, like you say. It's not my turn to say yours. I'm just saying, like, answer your statement on each two that I learned.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, man.
He can't talk too much, or it's supposed to be gone some kind of way.
Yeah,
That's the same part of it. Hopefully on TV too. So let us say it wrong.
She already on TV. She already on TV. She did her house with a bunch of
His game, like Michael Jordan do the wrong thing. He became us. And this is the sad thing. There's certain aspects of that white world that can't be touched.
Yeah.
Just for the truth.
Yeah.
And we can't do nothing about it. I mean, that's the thing. But we doing something. And I agree with you. I'm dealing with you. My family's on it. I got my sisters on your back. I got both my sisters, my niece on your back. And when times gotta be here in Michigan, I'm in Kansas City. But we doing what we gotta do. And I agree with you. Forget remote. We don't need it. Because we're a nation, baby. It's 34 black people that's treated bad. And everybody knows.
Yeah, bit by bit, that's how we do it. Because the thing that has to happen too is that you have to, and I'm gonna let you go, Carl, and I appreciate you. And I'm gonna just say this.
Appreciate you, sweetheart.
You too, you have a good one. I think we have to, because what it does, like he said, I got my family on. What that does too, you build community. When you do it that way, what you do is that you build community because it's a political project too, but it's also a project where we got sharecroppers and other stuff in the family, and we're a group. You have to. It can't just. I don't want this to just be a political project. We have to be a community of people who kind of develop a level of care for one another. So I'm gonna go to another comment really quickly. I'm going to 805. 805. What's your name? Where you calling from? Say mine.
Hi, this is Black EDO Los Angeles.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, I just want to thank you for all the hard work that you do. And, even I'm into genealogy, and I was just researching some records and everything, and I found my great-great-grandfather's records from the Freeman funeral.
Yeah.
And it was really, really amazing to find those records.
Okay.
And, so I am turning 8 But Yvette, we have to stay focused on ADOS and reparations. If we do not do it, I believe in the next 10 years, I believe it's going to be over for us. We have to mature. We have to be serious. We have to keep the focus on ADOS. My background is a social worker and working in human services. And a lot of our people have an arrested development. We have to mature overnight. And we have to stay focused. And what the young man was saying about the Latinos and how when we say something, they say that they're victims. I always bring up to them because I traveled from Mexico down to Brazil, and I bring up to them, how do you treat the descendants of slaves in your country?
Alright, hold on. This is another thing I would like to talk about for a little bit too. This article here, Roger Goodell encourages NFL teams to sign Colin Kaepernick. This is the same Kaepernick not only Roger Goodell is shitted on, but also the occupier-in-chief, Trump. You know what I'm saying? Why is it all of a sudden everybody is changing their tone? This is how this is programming. They trying to get us fucked up into this matrix, and they see what's going on with George Floyd and all of our other brothers and sisters who have been murdered by the police and so forth, and saying to themselves, man, we gotta try to appease these black folks. We gotta try to calm them down. We can't have too many of these black folks talking about reparations. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do something here. So this is the gimmick. This is another gimmick they gotta pull on us now. And it's in my opinion, it's absolute nonsense. Those of us who are intelligent black people, we know Roger Goodell is full of shit. He's full of shit. If I was him, I wouldn't even bother apologizing, because hey, I did it on purpose, because I want him to suffer for what he did. It's no different than how the NBA made Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf suffered. You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you, this Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf brother, aka Chris Jackson, who played for the Denver Nuggets, man, when I tell you that brother could ball, he could ball. He could ball. And don't get me started. He could ball. Hold on. I'm gonna show you. Let me show you how good of a baller my man Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf really is. How well this brother could ball. Shit. Here we go. And Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, he's still playing ball. I don't even know which one I want to start with. Uncheckable. See what this is.
In talking to players that played with Mahmoud and played against him, to steal a phrase from the NBA vernacular, he was uncheckable, according to those players. He could get his shot against anybody. And despite that most coveted skill, Mahmoud believes he was eventually forced out of the league. Could anybody cover you? No.
Yeah.
I say it this way. Believe me, man, I'm doing this for you. But, because I don't like talking like that. In the NBA, you can't stop nobody. You can try to contain them. I say it in that context. You know, in that context, no. I mean, I feel confident about my ability to score, my ability to create separation, to get my shot off.
with the crossover. That though. You thought Iverson was something. This is before Iverson. Oh, damn. Oh. he's got so much game. Jordan ain't even compared to this guy. Jordan, I was overrated. I would say Marbury was overrated compared to this guy. This my nigga right here. But if he was an activist, that's the difference between him and the rest of the NBA players. As far as the two definition of an activist, but refusing to stand up for that bullshit ass national anthem, man. Real talk. That's what I respect. You the master. Yes, sir.
People used to ask me, man, do you think you were blackballed? I was going to ask you that. You led to it. And I would say, you know what? I don't know. But all I'll say is, I think a lot of my best years were taken away.
Indeed, man. His best years were indeed taken away. Thanks to these motherfucking crackers. But you know, you can never stop greatness. Shit. You can never stop greatness, man. Like I said, sure. Y'all better ask somebody. That's what I'm gonna say about that. I didn't even know he even still played ball. 9 months ago, but hold on. But it's still out here playing ball. Go ahead on, my mood. Look at this right here. This is a high school game right here. Let's play this one. 1987. Here we go.
Look, Limu! Someone needs help customizing and saving with Liberty Mutual!
No.
Lately in the NFL, the national anthem has caused a little bit of controversy. We've got players kneeling during the anthem. We've got players sitting down. We have whole teams staying in their locker rooms during the national anthem. And as this controversy grows bigger and bigger, a lot of people have pointed to Colin Kaepernick as the man who started it. Now, while that is true on this issue, today I'm going to tell you about an NBA player whose career was ruined by a national anthem controversy. Yes, I'm talking about a player who in college averaged 30 points a game as a freshman. I'm talking about a man who many have compared to Steph Curry. I'm talking about a player who feels like he was blackballed from the NBA. And before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. If you want to get $20 off of tickets on the SeatGeek app, make sure to stay till the end of the video. And now, life was never easy for Chris Jackson. Growing up without a father in Mississippi, Chris's mother worked her hardest to provide her sons with a good life. But still, the family was very, very poor. On top of this, Chris spent his childhood in special classes, and it wasn't until the age of 17 that he would finally be diagnosed with Tourette's. Now, having a disease like Tourette's as a child can be very difficult. Most of the time, the disease seemed like a curse on Chris's life. There were moments where he couldn't leave a room until he turned off a light switch 100 times. Moments where he would break down crying after trying for 15 minutes just to tie his shoes just right. But sometimes the Tourette's would prove to be somewhat of a blessing, because the one thing in Chris's life that was always going well for him was basketball, and when practicing basketball, again, everything had to be just right. This was surely frustrating for Chris, but it did force him to practice the game practically non-stop. The reason for this was that every time Chris wanted to leave a gym, his disease forced him to swish 10 jump shots in a row. If even a single one of his shots grazed the rim, he would not allow himself to leave, and he was forced to start over. This meant that Chris spent a tremendous time practicing his shot, and by the time he reached high school, he was practically automatic from anywhere on the court. In fact, he was so good at free throws that he became a team hero after one practice. As before that practice, Chris's coach told the team that they could cut minutes off their practice time by making consecutive free throws. After Chris made 283 free throws in a row, his coach just simply called off practice. So, with his incredible jump shot and dedication to the game, it should come as no surprise that Chris Jackson had tremendous success in high school. He was a two-time state player of the year. He averaged 30 points per game as a senior, and he was a McDonald's All-American. This incredible high school success led to him being recruited by LSU, where every so often, college basketball finds itself with a star player who plays the game in such an awe-inspiring way that he becomes a national sensation. This was the case for guys like Steph Curry, Jimmer Fredette, and yes, Chris Jackson. Because from the second he took the floor on a college basketball court, Chris solidified his reputation as a superstar gunner. In just his third game, he would score 48 points against Louisiana Tech, a game that would pave the way for things to come. As to sum up his freshman season, Chris set a national single-game record for points by a freshman with 55 against Ole Miss, and he set a single-season record for points by a freshman with 965, an average of 30.2 a game. Chris Jackson was the National Freshman of the Year. He was a first-team All-American, and again, he was a national sensation. In many ways that year, he was college basketball's version of Steph Curry, a guard who scared everyone on the court with his ability to pull up from anywhere. This talent to light it up had scouts fighting over who had the chance to draft Chris. And after a sophomore year that saw him put up 28 points per game next to a freshman Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Jackson declared for the NBA draft and was taken third by the Denver Nuggets. Now, heading into the NBA, Chris Jackson had tremendous expectations. I mean, he was so good that the Nuggets coach said that Chris Jackson reminded him of a 6'1" Michael Jordan, which is why it was such a surprise when Chris Jackson came into the NBA and sucked. Okay, maybe sucked is a harsh word here, but he certainly did not live up to the hype. In his rookie season, Chris put up just 14.1 points per game, and then in his second season, his averages dipped to just 10.3 points per game. And at the time, everyone had some kind of excuse for what was happening.
out of shape because he was injured. He wasn't getting the proper medication for his Tourette's. Again, everyone had their own belief here, but no one was right. What was really wrong with Chris was his mindset. In his early days in the NBA, Chris says that he just felt lost as a human being. Eventually, though, he did begin to find himself through his new religion, Islam. Seemingly out of nowhere, when Chris returned to the Nuggets for the 1993 season, he was a new man. This change in mindset allowed him to average 19.2 points per game, and he was named the NBA's most improved player. The man who was once labeled a bust had finally arrived in the NBA, and that summer he made his connection to his new religion even stronger by changing his name to Mahmoud Abdul-Rahuf. But now, let's fast forward to the 1996 basketball season, a year in which Mahmoud Abdul-Rahuf decided that he was no longer going to stand for the American flag. He believed that the flag stood for tyranny and oppression, and so, as a devout Muslim, he felt that it was his duty to not stand for the flag. This didn't mean that he was trying to make any type of statement, though. In fact, his decision to not stand and salute the flag before games went unnoticed all the way until March. It was in March, though, when a newspaper reporter finally noticed Mahmoud's actions and wrote about them. Suddenly, just like that, Mahmoud began to draw heavy criticism and was almost immediately suspended by David Stern for one game due to a violation of NBA rules. Now, let's take a break for a second and talk about Colin Kaepernick. When Kaepernick began to take a knee for the national anthem, he of course set off a firestorm of controversy. The thing is, though, he also set off a firestorm of support. Guys like Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Cam Newton all have publicly stated that they support Kaepernick's decision and think that his protest has a chance to make a difference in this world. With that said, when Mahmoud Abdul-Rahuf made his stand, no one really had his back. Sure, a few NBA players said they supported him when asked by media members, but no one openly came out and said they were with him. Which meant that unlike the Kaepernick situation and the situation in the NFL we have now, there weren't two sides arguing over what was right. The Abdul-Rahuf situation was really just one side of very angry Americans claiming that Mahmoud's protest was unpatriotic. And so really, the second that he was suspended by David Stern, the entire basketball world turned against Mahmoud Abdul-Rahuf. Fans and the media began to criticize everything about his religion. They said that he was selfish for fasting for Ramadan during the season, even though that was part of his religious beliefs and no one really cared when Hakeem Olajuwon did. These same fans also ignored the great deeds of Mahmoud, such as the fact that he would often make it a point to go to the hoods of every city he stopped in during the NBA season to try and convince the young men there that there was a world outside of violence and drugs. And above everything else, fans ignored that again, Mahmoud wasn't trying to make a stance. At first, he attempted to stand for his beliefs in the most quiet way possible, and then, even after a reporter finally noticed, Mahmoud took his suspension and agreed to stand for the flag from then on. But the damage had already been done. After nearly making the All-Star team with a 19.2 point per game average in 1996, Mahmoud's career took a nosedive. Just 2 years later, at the young age of 29, no one in the NBA wanted him anymore, so he was forced to sign a contract in Turkey. Now, it is possible that maybe Mahmoud's decline had to do with a decline in his skills, but that's not what he believes. Mahmoud believes that after his incident and one-game suspension, the NBA basically blackballed him. He points to the fact that his team at the time, the Nuggets, traded him just 3 months after he was suspended. After that, the team he was traded to, the Kings, were also in on the blackball according to Mahmoud, with Abdul-Rahuf saying, "But you can't just say, we're getting rid of him for that." That, in this case, meaning the incident. They had to create an environment where it was, let's change his minutes and let's mess up his rhythm. A lot of things began to happen. So definitely, that's why my career was cut short. And so there you have it, guys, the man who says he was blackballed by the NBA. Whether that's 100% true or not, I guess we'll never know. But, I mean, he did go from averaging 19 points per game to out of the NBA in 2 seasons. So that's a little weird. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And if you're new, make sure to subscribe. The NBA season is back. We have tons of new videos planned for you. So again, make sure to subscribe and make sure to turn on my channel notifications so you don't miss a video. And now, guys, let's talk about SeatGeek. So SeatGeek is an app that takes all of the best ticket prices from around the internet and puts...
Know what I'm saying? That's one of my best clips of Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Salute to that brother, man. Yup. But that's all I wanted to present. That's all I wanted to present. But before Iverson, before Seth Curry, it was this guy, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. But if that's said, y'all take it easy. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.